From 2024 on Netflix in Canada, we have Imaginary. Now, in this, we have a blended family. We have a father with his two daughters. He's divorced. The mother's not quite right in the head. He has remarried to this lovely woman, and the kids are being typical stepkids. They do not want to accept someone who is supposed to be replacing their mother. Frankly, in terms of that respect, what I saw was quite accurate, having gone through my own bit with having my son not wanting to accept someone as his father and have someone that close to his mother. Same deal. Hey, bitch, you ain't my mom. Leave my dad alone. That sort of thing. She gets nightmares. Now, she writes books, and a lot of the assumptions are that she has all these bad nightmares because she's such a creative person. They decide to move back into her old house. Now, her father is alive. Her mother's dead. Father's alive, but he's not quite all there in the head anymore. And after they move into her old house, the youngest daughter, Gloria, she starts talking to her imaginary friend Chauncey, and Chauncey is a bear. Now, the mother sees said bear, Jessica, and the other daughter doesn't. But Jessica doesn't realize this until, because Gloria is acting kind of not right, they bring in a child psychiatrist that she had been seeing just after there had been the separation between the mother and the father. And the psychiatrist says, there's no bear. It's an imaginary friend. And Jessica turns to the other daughter and says, "You've seen the bear, right, Alice?" And she's like, "No, it's invisible. It's an imaginary friend." Next door, or two doors down, I'm not quite sure about that, is Betty Buckley. And as a side note, if you ever want to hear the best fucking rendition of Memory from Cats, go to YouTube, find Betty Buckley doing that. She was the first person who sang it in the United States when the musical came over here from England, and her rendition, hands down, beats anybody else's I've heard. Moving on. She is now the old grandma figure next door who knew Jessica when she was a little girl and knew about her imaginary friend. And in fact, this became her life obsession. Everybody thinks she's a crazy old lady because she keeps talking about kids being taken away by these entities that are powered by children's imaginations. Okay, well, it turns out Betty Buckley's right. Chauncey is real. Chauncey doesn't actually look like a bear. He just appears however each kid wants them it to look. But it can also imitate other things and people. So one of the first times Chauncey shows up for Gloria, he chooses to look like her mother. But her mother when she was healthy and normal. When Chauncey is just being Chauncey, they do this really weird bug eye thing with them. And it's kind of bizarre. There's not a whole lot of specialists. It is very well done. It is very neat. They end up going into Chauncey's world, which is powered by imagination because he's taking Gloria. And it turns out the reason her dad is crazy is because Chauncey had tried to take Jessica when she was a little girl. And the father had gone in into this imaginary world, gone in after her and brought her out. And just as he was trying to shut the door and lock this thing back into its own section, he stared into its eyes and had a cognitive break. As Buckley puts it in the film, the imagination of millions of children hit him all at once, and he just couldn't cope with it. So, how are they going to get Gloria back from this imaginary land? Well, if I told you that, I'd be screwing the whole film up for you, and I'm not going to do that. I want you to go see it.